Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dreamland XR Speaker Series at Immerse Global Summit 2022. I'm Chris Crescitelli. I'll be your moderator for today. We are thrilled to be broadcasting live for the first time inside AltSpace VR, inside the Hop-In virtual event platform, and projected live on stage at Immerse Global Summit at the Fontainebleau Hotel in Miami Beach. Today, we are excited to present our first panel entitled Dawn of the Metacities, where we will be discussing current metaverse platforms that are being used to create 3D interactive environments that are modeled after famous landmarks within real or imagined cities that are designed to become a new facet for culture, entertainment, education, art, and finance. We will discuss the current tools being used by world builders and creators who are the stewards of these futuristic spaces, and we'll learn more about how we can leverage the most out of these virtual environments to create safe and inspirational events for metaverse attendees around the world. We will delve into digital twin tech and applications with a focus on Metacity's 5 pillars of success, including equity, diversity, inclusion, sustainability, and accessibility, with the hope of making the real world a better place to live, work, and play. Thank you all for being here, both in the real world and inside AltSpace, and welcome to our Hop-In audience as well. First off, I'd like to introduce our panelists. We'll go down the line here and give each of them a chance just to give a quick introduction, starting with Artsy, world designer, social VR architect. Hi, Artsy, how are you today?
Hi, Chris. Doing great. Grateful to be here. We have a wonderful panel, wonderful people on the panel. My name is Artsy. I'm a social VR architect. I build spaces in the metaverse for people to enjoy. Um, my aesthetic usually leans towards luxury, but I came into the virtual reality space during the pandemic, and I have since then fallen in love with the idea of making all of these amazing environments for us to, hang out in. And I've designed over 200 worlds and environments for these different platforms. And I'm super grateful and excited for the future of this tech.
Well, thank you for all your hard work. Everyone that I know just thoroughly enjoys your worlds, and it's been a pleasure to work with you and get to experience those moments firsthand. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Daisy Leak, Director of Production at Magnopus. Hi, Daisy.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for having me here. And same as what Artsy said, I'm really excited to be part of this panel with all these great folks. Um, Again, my name's Daisy, and my background primarily is I've worked at Magnopus for the last 6 years, working in virtual reality and augmented reality, building experiences from Coco VR to the World Expo in Dubai. And ahead of that, I've been working in virtual worlds for a long time before that, actually at Disney, working in their MMO and interactive media group with Club Penguin, Pirates of the Caribbean Online, et cetera. So I feel like I've been watching the evolution of virtual spaces for a long time, and I'm actually very excited about what we're doing in technology and the emerging technology that's happening to be able to create what reality should be and what they should aspire to be, and then also replicating reality so we can share them more accessibly with other people.
Excellent. Yes, and congrats on the feature in Time Magazine
Yes,
recently.
thank you. Yeah, our teams are very proud of that. Thank you.
Yes, of course. Next up, we have Christi Fenison, immersive storyteller, Unity artist, and world builder. Hi, Christi.
Hey, so I'm Christy, and I do a lot of building here in AltSpace with my partner, Cos and Christy. Um, we like to create immersive spaces for large-scale social VR events, including the UN Act Now VR campaign, and we've done quite a few digital twin type projects. Some for entertainment purposes or hosting hybrid events, and then some for like planning purposes, being able to plan out a space based on the GIS terrain and arrangement within that space. My background in VR started before the pandemic and was initially focused on a combination of smart cities, GIS data, and planning city blocks, whether it be revitalization, uplifts, or ways to make spaces um, better for people to have like open access to shared communal spaces within a city, because that's really important to social capital and well-being. And so that was combined with studying Unity and 3D modeling and that sort of thing to be able to plan out those spaces. And then the pandemic happened and realized how important social VR was for us to actually connect with each other and have access to one another. Um, and so that shift to especially rebuilding these spaces in VR for shared experiences happened over the past couple of years. But yeah,
Great. Yeah,
exciting to be
thank you.
here.
And congrats on all your success as well. And kudos for amazing world builds that we've all been in and been fortunate enough to collaborate with you. So thank you for being here. And last but not least, we have Doug Huhulin, Metaverse Tech and Innovation Advisor. Hey, Doug.
Hi, thank you for having me here. It's great to be on this panel. So my background is I was with Nokia and Motorola for 33 years, for like last 20 years working on smart city technology, how to make the cities work for their citizens. This is the goal of what we're trying to do. Last years, 4 years, been working on technology, looking at how to bring immersive technology just small things, then we'll deliver the technology help with these to share sustainability goals and for the cities. I've not heard of the KU School of Nursing and other universities looking at how to bring educational learning, and I'm real excited about. I've heard of the School of Nursing. It's one of the XR diversity program, and so I did about having twins. In fact, go into the age link, educational plaza, you can see the figures and the keys to learning and how we're doing our technology and immersive learning. So excited about immersive learning in the diversities and also for more sustainable world.
Hey, Doug.
Yes,
Doug, can you hear me?
yeah.
I just wanted to double check your audio because I'm not sure. Was that dropping for you guys as well?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was cropping.
Okay.
Let me I'll try the better. You hear
Actually
me now?
still chunky. I'm not sure why, but maybe if you just pause for a second and restart. Yeah,
Yeah, well,
check
then
one.
come back. I'll try to do that. Sorry about that.
No problem. Yeah, if you want to jump back in, we'll let you finish that reintroduction if you want to re-enter. And welcome to the metaverse where technology does what it will. But thank you all for being here. Doug's going to just re-enter just to get a better audio feed for him. And while he's doing that, I thought it'd be great for us to talk about the sustainable development goals, since a lot of folks in this room have been working with the United Nations and other factions that are focused on sustainability. Hey, Doug, welcome back.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Now
This
we can
better?
hear you. Yeah? Does
Yeah,
it sound good for
yeah,
everyone else?
yeah. So good. Okay,
Yeah,
so
let's
real
go ahead and
quick.
have you do that again. Yep.
Yeah, so I with Motorola and Nokia for 33 years, working on smart city technology for the last 10 years. I'm working on immersive education with the KU School of Nursing, Victory XR, and Engage, looking at the Metaversity Engage link and their platforms there, looking at how do we have more sustainable cities and universities, how to lower our carbon footprint, have a more immersive and equitable cities and metaversities, and help educating, connecting the unconnected, and educating the 1.3 billion students. So these are some of the projects I'm working on, and excited to be on this panel. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for doing that again and re-entering for us. While you were gone, I just suggested that we start off with the topic of sustainable development goals from the United Nations. A lot of our panelists here have been working in sustainable environments, and I'm sure there's plenty to talk about here. Since Daisy, I know you worked with the project in Dubai. Do you want to talk a little bit about that to kick us off?
Yeah, I would love to. Just for context, for folks who don't know about this project, so we actually were engaged with the World Expo that took place in Dubai, in the United Emirates, this last year, and are continuing to work with them in terms of their, continued outreach for next year. And really, what the goal of that project was is that we started working with them back in about 2018. And really, the goal was how do we create a digital reality of the World Expo and then create a physical augmentation of that same environment together? So, what that means is that not only people who'd physically visit the event could see augmented reality around the site, but people from around the world could actually access the World Expo for free at home on a mobile device or potentially a VR device. And so what that means is that we took on the endeavor of recreating a very, very large city, which is about the size of about 4 Disneylands, and doing it with centimeter accuracy around the site. And really the biggest thing that we took away from that, and one of my favorite experiences about it, was that not only did we give that accessibility to other people around the world to be able to experience the expo, see events there, be able to experience and learn about the culture from that country, but one of my favorite stories is that we had several people, not only at our company but within our own friend circle, be able to visit there and but do it remotely and then actually physically go. And when they physically went, they're like, wow, I feel like I've already been here. I feel like I've seen it. I feel like I've actually experienced the events. I don't need a map. I can walk where I walk right to the building I know I want to go to. And that was so powerful for me because talking to sustainability, like you're talking about, Chris, like that means that the footprint of a physical place, whether it's here or whether it's, as we explore space in other places, you can actually feel like you're physically there and experience it without needing to fly in an airplane, without needing to actually, again, increase that carbon footprint to do that. And so again, we were using a lot of emerging technologies and some of our own platform that we built to make that, again, an easy endeavor. But yeah, it was very exciting and it was really cool to see the results, that people felt like they were actually there. And then when they went there, they could navigate better than most people, which was very cool.
It's very true. Yeah, we've experienced that with our worlds in Vegas and other places where people
Hmm.
feel like they've already been there. And also where there's sustainability, there's typically accessibility as well. And
Hmm.
Christy, I know you're very passionate about the SDGs and have been for some time. And congrats on the Act Now VR project, which was amazing. The digital twin of the Al Wasl Dome and the Uluru Kata National Park in Australia. Why don't you talk a little bit about some of the things that you experienced there?
Yeah. Uh, Also, I just want to say 100% echo like that. It's such an awesome feeling to know that folks who are visiting a space in VR have that feeling of I was there. I've visited. I've been here, and actually experienced that presence. And that's happened in a lot of our events we've seen, and specifically the Act Now events that we had. A lot of folks were able to. We had an installation of the Al Wasl Dome
Hmm.
as well here in Outspace, and people were able to experience the beautiful projection on the dome and
Yep.
its architecture. And then with Uluru, uh, we used actual GIS data to recreate the terrain through formerly Iris Rock in Australia, and we created some of the national park that surrounds it. And I know our team was working with the cultural center there to have accurate representation of the flora and the fauna, as well as the cultural stories, because the landscape is part of the culture, and each animal, each plant has a story, has meaning, and so being able to capture that in as much as we were for people. It's just see people actually discussing what they see, what they're learning, and we had a learning hub in each of these worlds so that people could learn more about the Sustainable Development Goals as well. And you would see people from all over the world together, actually discussing the Sustainable Development Goals in these meaningful conversations that then
Yeah.
they will carry with them back into the physical world.
Yeah, really, really amazing work. Artsy, I know a lot of the worlds that you build are of your own design. Have you also been doing digital twins? I know you were working a bit on UN and hope to have more projects coming in the next round of that event. But are you also focusing on sustainability?
Yeah, so I actually just finished up the digital twin of um so we like I live in Kentucky, and our biggest horse park here in Lexington is called Keeneland, and they wanted to do the first metaverse horse auction in spatial, and so I recreated their sales pavilion. um I went in and was able to do some photogrammetry to get the correct specs, and then go in and design it in a way that was functional for a web-based platform.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really cool. That was really it's my second project that I worked on where it was an actual digital twin of something. Um,
Right.
but it was probably the most important project. Coming from my home state. So I was
Yeah,
happy to be a part of that.
amazing. That sounds great. And Doug, I know your work in the Meta Universities, obviously creating equitable, diverse, sustainable, and accessible environments. Would love to hear a little bit about what you've been working on in the Meta Universities.
Yeah. So what is the metaverse is about efficiency and how can we make a more efficient university, city, world? And so these are things. One of the ways is distance learning, so people don't have to travel as often. I do encourage people to travel, but maybe cut down your travel footprint in half. And so these are the things we can work on. So we created a digital twin of the KU School of Nursing campus, some of the classrooms, and so we have students in rural areas and inner city areas working together, learning. And rather than having to travel to the classroom, they can be virtually there. The average carbon footprint, is about 10 grams to 100 grams per hour if you're in the metaverse. If you have to travel in person, it can be 10 to 100 times or even 1,000 times more carbon footprint. So we're looking at ways how we lower our carbon footprint by being in the metaverse and then being more efficient. If at first you don't succeed, don't do skydiving, don't do surgery. Be efficient in the metaverse first, optimize, and then you only have to do things in the physical world once. And these are the things we're working on to be more sustainable world.
Excellent. As the founder of Metacities, I've also been working to create digital twins of different environments. And sometimes, people really appreciate the exact duplicate of a world, but sometimes it's fun to add creativity to make that space new and interesting. A great example of that is the work that Celeste and I did with the Meta Vegas sign, which is mirrored after the Las Vegas sign. But because the actual Las Vegas sign is kind of layered with construction zones and yellow cones, and it's always kind of in a state of disarray. We chose to put that sign on an asteroid floating in a nebula in outer space and creates a really unique, fun environment. That world was built by Optic, who a lot of you know from here in Alt Space. And so, we can kind of touch on this with each of you, but how do you feel about bringing creative elements into those digital twin spaces and what that means for the audience as far as having fun and different ways to connect? Want to start with that one, Artsy? Oh,
Sorry, I think I glitched
Artsy,
out
you're
a little
muted.
bit.
oh, you're there. You're
um,
back. Thank you. Yeah, so we're
awesome.
discussing just creative
Um,
elements within the digital twins.
yeah, I think it's a really interesting idea to think about because like the benefit that we have in virtual reality is the fact that we can go to the past and we can live in the present and we can go to the future. So intertwining those different elements into these digital spaces is really interesting to me. But it's also, taking somebody like, so you're walking down, like a main street in one of these cities, and then like you see that same main street in the headset. You could see, you know, different things in the sky that you wouldn't see in your local area, right? Or companies or businesses that are not planted in your city. You can venture into some of those as well. It's also like you can change the entire landscape of where the city actually exists. And so it's really cool to bring these creative elements that we can't really experience in real life into these virtual experiences. So um, even when we did the horse park, um, some like some of the TVs in the regular spot like would be really small if we put them in the metaverse. So like being able to play with scale and being able to play with like particle effects and different skies, changing the nighttime, daytime. It's really cool. It's really nice to be able to have creative freedom while you're doing digital twins.
Absolutely. And Daisy, with some of your clients, do they allow you to be, like, for example, in Dubai, were you able to add a lot of creative elements that layered in on top of the digital twin? Because I know you were tasked with building an actual replica, and curious if they were open to that.
Yeah, very much so. I think to the point of what Artsy's bringing up is that, as we're working in this medium and as we were working with the folks in Dubai, they were very much, I think one of our earliest conversations was, great, so we need to replicate the site, but we really want a dragon. And we're like, okay, a dragon? Sounds cool. We'll figure it out. And so they really leaned into this idea that it's like, sure, we need to replicate a reality so people can feel like they're there, but we should really just take this medium and actually put on top of it things that are that are fantastical, that are spectacles, that again not only lead and teach people about the culture. Like we added different elements like jerboas and different fish like the hamor, which are part of that area and the culture of the world. But we definitely reached for the fantastical element because again, those are those things that are surprising and delightful that people want to see when they're in a new medium. And I think that exploring that and seeing what works and what doesn't, whether that's in virtual reality or in augmented reality, is critical.
Totally agree. And Christy, I know you guys had a lot of fun in Uluru Kata by changing the sky with projection mapping, and obviously, having
Right.
worked with you, I know we always try to bring something creative to the table. So, love to hear your thoughts on the topic as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that is a great example. So while the landscape was built to reflect, the actual flora and fauna in the area, the sky was animated, and it was actually telling an origin story of Uluru, of the rock itself. And so you have this fantastical, beautiful story, mythology happening in the sky, which in the physically the sky is not like that, but you can do that in VR, and you can add these layers of storytelling to help connect with the environment that we're in. Um, some other things like we built a digital twin of the Golden Apple comic book shop in LA, and while the comic book shop itself is like pretty much a replica, like we've had folks be like, they went and visited finally in person, and they were like, I had been here before, exactly what you were saying earlier.
Hmm.
They had felt that they already knew their way around. But because we're in VR, we are able to give a wormhole tunnel in the back of the shop that takes you to like their own convention area so that they could hold events during like WonderCon and some of the Comic Cons in the backspace, which physically didn't exist behind their comic book shop, but we're in VR,
What? They
so
didn't
we are
have a
able.
wormhole? They
I
didn't have a
know,
wormhole in the comic shop? What's wrong
not
with them?
yet.
That's
And then
awesome.
that's another thing too, is like some of these creative things that you imagine could in the future be a layer within the physical world, whether that be this is a new way to design the space or a mixed reality layer on top of the physical. Get more information in mixed reality when we're at certain activated sites.
And Doug, how about your experience with the Meta Universities? You guys are doing straight up digital twin or adding some creative elements as you go along?
Yes, we're trying to create a whole new world of experiences. In fact, the movie Aladdin, with the flying around on the magic carpet, we're able to fly around through the hospital. Actually, I do that to the video of Aladdin flying around. It's kind of fun. And if you ever flown in virtual reality, it's an incredible experience. And we have this digital twin that's about a mile by mile of the campus, and you can fly around the hospital and the nursing school and so forth. This allows us to have experiences where we're adding content that we couldn't do before, like if we're doing anatomy, where you can practice cutting open a cat or a pig or a human, and you have this experience, to add layers upon layers. You can do art. You can integrate art and medicine together. So the bottom line is you can experiment with so many different things, and what we're using this experimentation, you experiment in the virtual world first, and then you can deploy it in the physical world. And that makes, again, for a more
Can you
sustainable
guys
world.
please
Also,
fix this problem?
Yeah. So anyway, uh, are you
All right,
not hearing me
Celeste.
again?
Celeste, everything okay?
Yeah, I just
You sound good.
do people hear me
Sorry,
okay?
my apologies.
I can hear you. Yeah, you sound good.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. So anyway,
Great.
this is the immersive experiences that you practice so for more sustainability. So that's what we're working on.
Awesome. Hopefully one day we'll get to dissect a dragon.
Yes, exactly. Well, you can fly around on
Mhm.
a dragon.
Oh, nice.
In fact, there's the Engaged Link Educational Plaza. They have now probably 20 different universities that are being deployed. And so if you ever want a tour of the campus, please let me know. Reach out to me on LinkedIn and happy to give tours.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. I'd
And
love to
I'd
talk
like
a
to
little bit about the. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to add, like, the point, like, you brought up anatomy, for instance. Another interesting thing that can be done with digital twins is you could have a digital twin of the human body and not just practicing, a procedure on it, but actually go on a field trip into the human body, like Magic School Bus style, in a way that
Exactly.
we aren't able to do physically in the physical world, but we can use digital twins of even the body and see
Exactly.
things from
And just like
a
right
different
now we're
perspective.
together, you can be together around the body and you don't have to be in the same location. So we can be in different cities around the world actually, and we can be sharing this, have this shared experience. So again, going back to the
Yeah.
Aladdin song, A Whole New World, is a shared experience for me and you. And that's what I think is really exciting about the metaverse is not only do you have these experiences that you can have by yourself, but you can share with other students, with teachers,
Yeah.
to be engaged, to be immersed. And what they find on average is people get a one grade better when and it's not replacing, education with the metaverse, but it's complementing. So, my recommendation is start off with only 5 to 10 minutes of your students in the metaverse to complement your curriculum, but then over time keep adding. But start small. Look at where you can manipulate, viruses or organs, but this immersive experience where people get excited about it. And whether you're exploring a city together, like there's a platform called Worlds that's really exciting. There's a lot of things you can do. So anyway, shared experiences is what I'd recommend.
Great. I wanted to talk a little bit about the tools that everyone uses to do your jobs. I know a lot of you are building in alt space, but there are what seems like a new metaverse platform every day popping up. And I know on our next panel, we're going to hear from some of those platform operators. But um, I guess Unity, Blender, Unreal Engine, maybe we can all just kind of discuss some of our workflow, what we like or don't like, what we'd like to see in the future. As metaverses become cross-platform, I think there's going to be a lot of interesting advancements in the technology. Um, and Artsy, I know you're a multi-threat developer and you do a lot of the work all under one roof. So your preferred technologies are.
Definitely Blender. It's my favorite 3D modeling program. Although I've used SketchUp in the past,
Mhm.
but I normally, if I'm working in the web, I'm able to take my build straight from Blender, um, and export as a GLTF into, uh, the online metaverses. But the uh, different metaverses that use Unity, I'll use Unity for that, and I'm starting to explore Unreal Engine, and
Mhm.
what that could mean, what that tool set would be like.
And are you also working outside of alt space or primarily in alt space?
Right now, I've got worlds in over 5 platforms. Um, although AltSpace has been my home space to build
Mhm.
in because my community is here. I have been traveling to different metaverses for the past year, just trying to get my foot in the water with those.
Yeah, sure. And Daisy, same question to you. Are you also, well, you're also doing Web3 and other things as well. Maybe chat a
Yeah,
little bit
absolutely.
about your workflows.
Yeah, absolutely. So, with our teams here, so my role predominantly is on production, and I joke that all the very smart people like the artsies and the Christies of the world are the artists and the engineers that I get the luxury to work with every day. And the platforms that we use, honestly, is the gamut. We've done Web3, we've done Unity, we've done Unreal, and really what I've heard the most from our developers and our artists and our designers is that they will pick up Blender. They'll pick up any tools that they can to be able to create the worlds or to create the augmented reality that they need at their ease. And oftentimes what ends up being some of the biggest hurdles is that some of the tools that they'll use may not be they may need to convert the asset, or they may need to convert what they need to do into a different environment. So a lot of it is about conversion and making sure it's accessible to other platforms is what we deal with most on a daily basis. And so for me, my priority in my work here at Magnopus is hearing that feedback from them as we're creating worlds not only for the likes of Disney and for the World Expo and for some of our other partners, but looking for tool sets that we can build internally to help make that ease of conversion into those different platforms easier. Because that honestly is the biggest friction point that we feel on a daily basis. So.
Yeah, I think it's really important that we go cross-platform as quickly as possible and echo our worlds across the different initiatives. And Christy, how about you?
Yep.
Yeah, so the tools I use, I was trained in Maya, but then I graduated and no longer had a Maya subscription. And I was like, Blender. Quickly made the switch to Blender and love it. I really love working in Blender. Um, so essentially everything is built from scratch in Blender and then exported and brought into a Unity scene for the finishing touches, the shaders and the particles and baking the lighting. And then from there, uploaded to AltSpace. I have also been working in Unreal, but for a whole different VR layer, more for training simulations than for social VR experiences.
Great. And Doug?
Yeah, so we use the Engage platform, and the Engage platform, and with Victor XR, we have over 6,000 actually IFX objects that we can use, plus video, plus content. Now, we also train our students in Unity, and because there's as you want to build worlds, you can build them in Unity and then import those worlds and those locations. So, like when you create a digital twin, you can do that. I'm also with the Virtual World Society and the Educators in VR. And so it's all about experimentation and how we can experiment. But the tools we use, like I said, is the platforms. Though I've also Altspace have been involved in that as much. Spatial is another platform that we're doing some interesting work in. Again, leveraging Unity and leveraging different objects, 3D objects. There's a lot of scanning going on. Spatial IO is another platform. So my recommendation is experiment with a lot of different platforms, Unity, there's different ways you can do world building to do the optimization.
Excellent. Well, we have just a few more minutes here. I'm not sure if the audience has any questions. I'm happy to open up for a couple of last minute questions. Otherwise, we'll give our final remarks. Does anyone have a quick question for the audience? If so, I'll come over to you. Okay, great. Well, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today and hop in Altspace VR and at the Immerse Global Summit. We're so excited to be a part of this initiative, and thank you to our friends at the VRARA for hosting such an amazing conference. For those that don't know, we've all been in Miami for the past couple days, having an amazing show, roughly 1,000 attendees, tons of exhibitors. It's just been really amazing, and we look forward to our next year coming soon, and a lot to look forward to in 2023. I also like to invite everyone to CES, where Dreamland, as you know, has a big presence. We'll be hosting opening and closing night events at Hakkasan and Omnia. Please come and find us inside the clubs at the beautiful, fabulous Las Vegas Strip. And without further ado, I'd like to say thank you to all our panelists. We appreciate all of you, and I'm sure the gang would like to mingle with you a little bit. We do have a next panel starting in about 15 minutes, so stick around. And thank you, everybody.
So the panel's
Thank
starting
you.
now, actually.
Oh,
The panel is
going
going to
straight
start.
in?
So, yeah, we just want to invite all of our next panelists for the Music in the Metaverse series to come onto stage.